just be optimistic. Things can get better. Even one small change that improves team's energy, efficiency, client satisfaction, your work will set you up for a better tech season. So I would take October to think about what I'm going to do going forward while you're still finishing up the returns and the memory is fresh.
Welcome to Deduct This, powered by ProConnect Tax. This is where tax professionals come together to share ideas, experiences, and fresh perspectives to help you grow your practice and your future. We're glad you're here. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Deduct This with Carrie and Lexi. I'm Carrie.
And I'm Lexi. This month, it's all about the power of smart switching and how October can serve as the launchpad for improved preparation and faster results.
We're joined today by Kat Khalandach. She's a tax professional, an influencer, and educator, and she's helped thousands of peers navigate Intuit tools, workflows, and everyday tax challenges. Kat, welcome to the podcast.
Hi guys, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. This is great. I love it.
So fun. Kat, you have an amazing story and you have just had such great success and you're such an influence in the community. And we just want to dig into that story a little bit today. When did you first realize that your workflow and some things needed to be shaken up? What were some of the red flags that kind of started to make you think that things needed to change?
So usually I realize when I need to change something when the tasks are too manual, they're just too time consuming without any reason. For example, I just can't find something. Like the last other day, I was looking for this information from prior year and I just could not find it. And I was like, okay, this is the time for me to change the workflow because I don't want to spend an hour looking for something that will take a second. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I feel those times. And it's just this time where we live in the times that there is so many tools out there that can improve any workflow, any kind of tasks that we need. And I just think it's time to work smarter, not harder. So when I feel like I'm getting stuck and I feel like this is a time to look for a smarter workflow.
Yeah, I love absolutely. That. I can imagine though, right? A lot of people have a lot of fear with change, right? Like that's pervasive in society today is there's so many unknowns, right? When you go into change. So what were some of the fears that you've had as you've kind of navigated some of the change in your firm?
So my biggest fear, and maybe it's a limited belief, I sometimes feel, why would I change something that already works? Mm-hmm. I know it can be better, but it works. Why would I do something different? So that's my biggest fear. But I know that it's just because the times we live in, there's so much innovation going on. So the only way to keep up going and to have this competitive advantage compared to everybody else is to learn and improve. But I am, like, the initial moment when I decide to change things, I am a little bit afraid that I can break something that works. But eventually, when I can see a result, I always ask myself, what I haven't done it earlier.
Absolutely. That's such a great point. You have such an amazing presence. Like I said in your intro, so many pros out there look up to you and they look to you for reviews and they want to hear from you. You have influence, and so, which is amazing. So congrats to that, because you're honest and you really help other professionals understand about the pros and cons of different software. What pain points are you seeing out there right now that are bubbling up that make people really question their current setup?
I often receive emails similar to, how can I improve this? How can I make this work? And in that moment, I feel like, oh my gosh, they exactly feel how I feel. There's so many things that I would love to make things work better or find like the better workflow. So I just want to say, if you ever feel that way, that something is going on with the prior year things, or you want to set up like current flow to be much, much better, and you know how it should be, you just can't kind of find a way to make it work, you're not alone. Like, everybody feels that way. Even I do, although, just everybody in general. That's normal. But in general, I just kind of want to add to that a lot of people feel that way. But the good news about that is always a way to change it, always a solution out there. So we can always improve that. So I think the goal behind it is just not to be scared looking for that solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And go ahead, Carrie.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, you've talked about in some of your videos online, especially in YouTube, like pain points of like data conversion or like specific things that are common fears of switching or why people start shopping to begin with. What advice do you give them when they're looking for a all-in-one solution or the different solutions to solve for those pain points like that?
I usually I try to understand where the person is coming from. I'm trying to understand their background because one solution for everything can be really different, depends on your background. So, for
Mhm.
example, if you come from a big corporation and you want like huge things, and that solution can be one. If you're trying to do service a smaller business, the solution can be very different. But for me, for example, like I discovered, and usually the answer to majority of a question I ever ask is take a look at ProConnect. They combine the best of two worlds. Like
Mhm.
it has complexity, so you can kind of like do very complex things out there, but they also make it very simple, so you can anybody can use it as well. So I guess the idea is like look for tools that have it all, and those tools do exist. And for example, for text preparation, for me, that's ProConnect.
I'm curious, right? So I've seen your videos actually for the last couple of years. Like Lexi said, you are an influencer, and I'm curious to see how do you go about when you think about your YouTube videos and you're going to do a review of a piece of software. How do you go about thinking about what am I going to share with the people so that people really understand what's how this works and what they need to know? I'm just super curious about like what your process is.
It's a very good question. Thank you. I think initially I started doing review of products because that was the best way for me to learn as well. So the way I do it, I kind of watch all the videos on YouTube. I read all the information out there, and then I make a video. And by when I make a video, by I'm trying to teach or note what I think was great about that or not as great, I kind of learn myself as well,
Mhm.
because I think when you're able to explain things in easier way, it's just actually that's when learning is happening. That's when actually you feel like you understand what you're talking about. So going back to your question, I think it just I love review. I love to learn something new, and just watching somebody else, people reviewing the product. Most likely, you should understand that, and majority of people probably know that they spend hours and hours doing research so they can put that video together. So that's partially why I love making those videos and why I love watching reviews of products of other people, because I know how much work
Mhm.
got into that, and I always can learn something new, and everybody has like different perspectives, and I'm just trying to explain what from my experience is useful, and I hope to that somebody else find it useful and helpful for them as well.
I love it. I do the same thing. I love to watch videos. I love to see how people are doing things and having it come from somebody who's actually using the product as opposed to the company or what we know where things can be a little bit skewed and whatnot. So I love your videos and I always learn something. It's really interesting because you review Intuit products. I work it into it, right? But I love to see your perspective on things, right? Because you're a customer
Mhm.
of ours. And so you see things that I don't always see coming from the actual company. And so I just think I love how you do it and I love how you explain things. But that's great insight of you're right. It takes hours and hours to learn something. And so if you take the time to be able to share it, I think that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, October. We hear this, we see it in the numbers, we see it just all the time, right? Like October is the ideal time that people are ready for change. Why? What is it with October? Especially like, I mean, obviously there's extension deadlines and stuff like that, but why is it October in your opinion?
I'll start with that October is my favorite month because finally the final business of a business and individual tax deadline and the tax season is
Hmm.
over. This is the only time when we can say we're done, because we can't say that in July or August. We still have so much work to do. And now in October, usually majority of people are almost done with their tax season, but some are still working on towards deadline. So this is, I think, the perfect time to think about strategy, to think about how you're going to move forward while you're still finishing up the returns and the memory is fresh. So
Hmm.
I would just recommend to just take some time, and just think about it. It's like, oh, how can I improve next year? And now October, during months of October, is the best time for that, because eventually we'll get busy with year end and then holiday starts, and it's just so many distractions, and you want to be with your family doing things. So I would take October to think about what I'm going to do going forward, what I'm going to do better. And now it's also a really good time to test it out, because you're still working. You still, like, you can improve something, test it out. If you have employees, give it to your employees, see if they like it, if they improved. And so that's just really amazing time. So I would recommend not to miss out on this unique opportunity and this very short time frame when you can do that.
Right. I mean, you're right. It's only a short window of time until you're into the next tax season. So it is, you're right. This is like a special little window of time that is very interesting. So how would you recommend somebody, if they're trying new tools, everything is fresh, what went wrong, what went right, and where they're going to find those net new things. And so if they're trying new tools, how would you say someone can like avoid getting out of just like set it mode and just be in the weeds for so long before they make decisions? Like how would you recommend somebody does that?
I think I would recommend to start small. Just find a way to get a small win so you can move forward. Because I'm perfectionist. I used to be perfectionist. I'm not perfectionist anymore, because I wouldn't be where I am if I was perfectionist. Because if you ever produce any kind of video, anything you created, like created a video or a podcast, or like, I don't know, even probably like an image or ad to your company, there is never is there so much work can be done always. And some people probably feel, until I have this perfect strategy and I have all of it together, I would not make a change. So I would recommend not wait until that, because that might never happen and you can miss out on opportunity to improve step by step. So I would start small, get small wins, do one client, one tool, and then move forward and forward. And just give it a
That's great
try.
advice.
Yeah, don't wait until you have a time for a perfect plan, because that might just never happen.
100%. That goes with anything, right? Like, yeah, I mean, we've been having discussions about like advisory too, and like bringing in tax planning and year-round planning, and it's same thing, same advice, one little step, one foot forward at a time. Okay, so you've done all these reviews, you have such great insight to all the products. What is one feature or benefit that you didn't expect, but now you cannot live without?
There's pretty a few features out there, to be honest, because I feel like the tax industry, we're just it changing. It was very slow. It stays the same for almost like last, I don't know, many, many, many years. And now out of nowhere, all these tools develop, all these things are changing. So this is wonderful. I love it, because I think we can do such a more interesting work now compared to doing all these data entries that I was doing 10 years ago. So for me, the most incredible tools probably were something related for ProConnect, for example. That was Intuit Link and data import, for example. It just, I don't know, I started using it a couple of years ago, and it changed everything, because everything is in the same place. So for example, sometimes I haven't done tax return using those features. I did it elsewhere, and then I just can't find information. So I think it's very useful. And yeah, so I'm really excited about new developments, all the tools. It saves so much time. So like one link and you can have everything there, instead of, like, for example, I used to have lots of different tools, and I have to remember where to find them. The login information always takes some time to reset password. And now with like Intuit Link in ProConnect and other tools that goes along with it, it just, I have everything in one place. So I think just having something in one place, an ability to add or find all the tools possible, that's my favorite. And obviously automations that comes with it is great. I love it.
Yeah, it's so funny. Before I knew about tax prep, coming from someone who files her taxes and doesn't I have somebody who does my taxes for me. I didn't realize how much data collection there was, like, in the process. I know how much I had to give, but as I talk to tax pros, I don't realize what a burden that is. So that's an interesting point, and I love that. I want to kind of pivot a tiny bit, and we were talking again about like October and the time of year and trying out new products and things like that. What would you say are, like, how do you find like little small wins in order to figure out, hey, this tool that I'm playing with, that I don't know every every piece of it. But what are the small wins that you see that you go, you know what, I think that there's a there, and the switch is going to be worth the pain that I'm going to kind of go through when I do this?
I think there's so many improvements can be made or any of parts of the workflow. So it's more just kind of, I would go back and take a look what was the most difficult, what didn't work, what was the biggest struggle. I think I would start there because after you fix the biggest struggle, which can be, for example, document retentions and making sure you have a space or things like that, then you can eventually fix a smaller things as well. So I know it might feel like a big win, but I would still, I would go back, look at the bigger problem and find a way to have a small win within that, solving that bigger problem that can potentially be solved right now or later.
Yeah, that's great advice. Absolutely. So, to someone in the vein of what you said, so many problems to fix, so many things to address, if someone listening here feels overwhelmed, and I know you kind of alluded to this, but let's unpack it a little bit more. What is the first step that you suggest they take as they're shopping for new software, starting to think to switch, and wanting to make that decision in the next 60 days?
I would recommend them to try something new, a new software, especially the softwares that have it all, something that they're looking for. So, for example, ProConnect. There is a way to try ProConnect for free. You can just utilize majority of the tools for free, see how it works, maybe take some kind of work I'm sorry, take some kind of training like automation training or something like that. That might be helpful, and you might be surprised that it can potentially change your whole life. Because what if you wanted to quit working in this industry and now out of nowhere you're like, oh my gosh, this tool is amazing, it will save so much of my time, it will make my life so much better, my tax season so much better, and just like I will be so much happier having working in this industry. And yes, I mean, that can be the tool, the software can be life changing. I know people who use the software and they spend hours and hours like trying to fix, for example, there's those things, diagnostics. After you prepare tax return, you have like errors or things you need to fix. And I mean, I used majority of the tax softwares out there. Sometimes it takes hours, and that's just not very enjoyable work because you finish the work, everything looks good, and now just this technical thing you need to figure out how to fix. So, for example, in ProConnect, I never had that. I just kind of everything just I enter the information, everything just all together. It looks good. It's ready to e-file, done. So imagine if I was that person spending hours before the deadline trying to fix it, I might not want to be in the industry anymore. I would look for another job. But if I had a right tool, that can be avoidable. So sometimes something as some people might consider as such a small change, it's actually a huge change and a big help.
I love it. I love it.
So
okay.
true.
One last question. So if you were, again, like we're thinking about this October timeframe, you've said that this is the pivotal time. You're just coming out of season. You've experienced pains, you've experienced wins through this last season, and you're thinking about switching software. So what would be your one sentence pitch to somebody who's sitting on the fence about if they're going to switch or not?
Of course. I think for us, for tax preparers, we are, after tax season, we sometimes don't feel like it can get better. Like we have that feeling. We're like, we've done everything, it doesn't get better. So what I would say is that just be optimistic. Things can get better. Your next season can be so much better. Start small. Even one small change that improves team's energy, efficiency, client satisfaction, your work will set you up for a better tax season. So what are you waiting for? Try out new tool, try to improve your next year, and that can change your life.
It really can. I mean, we've heard it. We've seen it. It's unbelievable. We've heard as much as like people going down to a 4-day work week because of strictly their software. It's thank you so much. Thank you for sharing just practical advice and your experience switching, and it makes it seem less scary, less intimidating, and a lot more strategic. So just appreciate your time today, Kat.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I love this. I think I agree. And it is pervasive that we do hear this one small step. I do believe everyone feels that they have to jump all in and do 110% from the get-go. And so I think the practical advice of just go play with it, take the webinars, watch your YouTube, and just see what else is out there and see what other opportunities are to make those small little tweaks. And I think that's amazing advice.
Well, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. I'm so honored to talk to you guys. You guys are wonderful. And thank you for what you guys are doing and also the Intuit. I mean, you guys are making our lives so much easier, so much better. So thanks. I mean, such a big deal for us. It's constantly changing and improving our life on daily basis. So thanks.
Love to hear that. Well, thanks, Kat, so much. And likewise, thanks for being such a great customer. That's it for this episode of Deduct This. For more of Kat's insights, check out her YouTube channel for everyday tax pro tips. Until next time.
Thanks for being part of Deduct This, powered by ProConnect Tax. If today's conversation gave you something new to think about, visit accountants.intuit.com for more insights and resources made for professionals like you. We'll be right here, helping you turn expertise into opportunity.